In a French laboratory, rats addicted to cocaine were given a choice. One lever delivered another dose of the drug, the other a sip of sugar water. They chose the sugar. The scientists found that intense sweetness surpassed cocaine reward even in drug-sensitized and addicted individuals. By a stunning margin, this is the exact wiring inside your own head, and you're interacting with it every single day. By the end of this, you will understand the precise, step-by-step mechanism by which that harmless-looking white powder hijacks the most primitive parts of your brain. And chances are, the resulting downgrade is already affecting your ability to focus, to feel joy, and to make rational decisions. The researchers watched as the rats scrambled over the cocaine lever to press the one for sugar over and over. This experiment wasn't a fluke. It's been replicated, revealing a fundamental truth about our own neurochemistry. At the core of this behavior is a circuit deep in the brain called the mesolimbic pathway. Think of it as the engine of motivation. It's ancient, powerful, and its job is to make you do things that promote survival. It does this using a chemical messenger you've heard of: dopamine. Dopamine is widely misunderstood as the pleasure molecule. It's more accurate to call it the motivation molecule. It's the neurochemical that says, pay attention, this is important for survival, do it again. When you eat something energy-dense, a cluster of neurons called the ventral tegmental area releases a flood of dopamine into another region called the nucleus accumbens. This is the signal. It's a biological command to remember what you just did and seek it out again. Our ancestors lived in a world of caloric scarcity. Finding a patch of ripe berries was a major survival victory, an event worth prioritizing above almost everything else. Your brain is still running that Paleolithic software. It's designed to value and pursue rare, energy-rich foods. The problem is that you are now running that ancient software in a world of infinite, super-concentrated supply. The sugar in a piece of fruit comes packaged with fiber, water, and nutrients, which slows its absorption. The sugar in a candy bar or a soda is refined, stripped of all context, delivering a massive, rapid payload directly to your system. That speed is crucial. It creates a dopamine spike far larger and faster than anything our biology evolved to handle. It's a supernormal stimulus. It screams at your brain that this experience is more important for survival than a balanced meal, more important than social connection, and in the stark chemical language of the brain, more important even than cocaine. But that initial powerful signal is just the first step in the hijack. The real damage begins when your brain starts trying to protect itself from the flood. Your brain is an organ of adaptation. It craves balance, a state called homeostasis. When it's repeatedly overwhelmed by these massive dopamine floods, it takes defensive measures. It starts to believe this new high level of stimulation is the new normal, and it adjusts accordingly. The primary way it does this is by reducing the number of available dopamine receptors, particularly a type known as the D2 receptor. Imagine your dopamine receptors are tiny microphones designed to listen for the dopamine signal. When sugar causes that signal to blast at full volume, day after day, the brain starts unplugging the microphones. This is a process called downregulation. It's a protective mechanism to prevent the system from burning out. The immediate consequence is tolerance. The same dessert that gave you a rush last month now barely registers. To get the same feeling, you need a larger portion. Or something even sweeter. You must increase the dose to get the same neurological effect because there are fewer microphones listening for the signal. This is a critical point. This exact process of D2 receptor downregulation is one of the primary neurobiological markers of addiction to substances like cocaine, alcohol, and heroin. The machinery being manipulated is identical. You can see this on a PET scan. The brain of a person with obesity and the brain of a person with cocaine dependence often show a similar, striking reduction in D2 receptor activity compared to a healthy control. The brain looks less lit up, less active in these reward centers. The source of the overstimulation is different. The biological scar it leaves is the same. This is where the wanting separates from the liking. The craving for sugar, driven by the memory of that initial intense reward, grows stronger. But the actual pleasure you get from consuming it diminishes because of the downregulated receptors. You are now chasing a memory of satisfaction that the next hit can no longer deliver. This is the addict's trap, an ever-increasing motivation for a progressively less satisfying reward. The dulling of experience begins. The sweetness you used to find in an apple or a carrot seems to vanish. Your taste buds are fine. Your brain's reward valuation system has been recalibrated. Everything is now being measured against an impossibly high, artificial benchmark. This downgrade of your reward system affects how you experience everything. With fewer D2 receptors online, the smaller, healthier bursts of dopamine from everyday life struggle to make an impact. The satisfaction of completing a difficult task, the warmth of a social connection, the pleasure of a walk in the sun, these activities release dopamine too. They are supposed to. It's what motivates a balanced life. But in a brain rewired by sugar, these natural rewards feel muted. Their signal is too quiet to be heard by the remaining overworked microphones. This is a low-grade version of a clinical condition called anhedonia. The reduced ability to experience pleasure. Life literally becomes less colorful, less engaging. The only thing that seems to break through the gray is the one thing that caused the problem in the first place, and the hijack has an accomplice: your gut. There are trillions of bacteria living in your digestive system, a community called the microbiome. This community acts like a second brain, communicating directly with your brain through the vagus nerve. Different species of bacteria thrive on different foods. Some thrive on fiber, others thrive on sugar. When you eat a high-sugar diet, you cultivate a garden of sugar-loving bacteria. These microbes release chemical byproducts that travel to your brain and influence your mood and cravings. They are effectively sending signals demanding more of the food they need to survive. That craving you feel isn't just in your head. It's a broadcast sent from a colony of organisms in your gut that you have trained to want what is hurting you. This is how deep the system goes. It's a hijack of your neurology and your microbiology. But the damage isn't contained to your motivation and mood. It's starting to compromise the very part of your brain that could help you escape. Your ability to think long-term, to weigh consequences, and to override impulsive urges is managed by a region at the front of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. The PFC is the brain's executive. It's the voice of reason. It's what separates you from a creature of pure instinct. But the PFC is in a constant negotiation with the older, more powerful reward circuit. When the reward circuit is functioning normally, the PFC can effectively regulate its demands. But when the reward circuit has been hijacked, its craving signals become overwhelming. It's like a fire alarm going off in a library. The calm, rational process of long-term planning is drowned out by a primal scream for immediate gratification. That scream is the dopamine-driven wanting signal, and it effectively takes the PFC offline. This is the neurobiological reality behind the feeling of being out of control around certain foods. It's a battle between brain regions, and one side has been artificially supercharged. Your PFC is losing a rigged fight. This internal battle consumes huge amounts of cognitive resources. Worse, the PFC is highly dependent on a stable supply of energy. The blood sugar roller coaster caused by high sugar foods, the spike followed by the crash, starves the PFC of the consistent fuel it needs to function optimally. At the very moment you need your executive function the most, it's been weakened by both a neurochemical assault and an energy crisis. The assault on your cognition doesn't stop there. High sugar diets are shown to suppress a vital molecule called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. BDNF is essentially fertilizer for your brain cells. It supports the survival of existing neurons and encourages the growth of new ones. A brain low in BDNF is a brain that struggles to learn, adapt, and repair itself. The very substance impairing your ability to make good decisions is also damaging your ability to learn from them. The loop tightens. And all of this is before we even consider how the rest of your body joins the conspiracy. The hijack isn't just a brain story. Your entire physiology gets recruited. Every time you consume sugar, your pancreas releases insulin to move that sugar out of your bloodstream. When this happens multiple times a day, your cells start to become resistant to insulin's signal. This is insulin resistance, the precursor to type 2 diabetes. But insulin resistance also happens in the brain, where it disrupts dopamine signaling even further, blunting the reward response and driving more cravings. And there's another hormone, leptin. Leptin is produced by your fat cells. Its job is to tell your brain, we have enough energy stored, you can stop eating now. Chronic overconsumption of sugar, particularly fructose, causes leptin resistance. Your brain stops hearing the leptin signal. You can have more than enough energy, yet your brain is screaming that it's starving. Fructose is particularly problematic. While glucose can be used by any cell in your body, fructose is metabolized almost exclusively by the liver. An onslaught of fructose overwhelms the liver, which starts converting it into fat. This process is a primary driver of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, but it also throws your metabolic signaling into chaos, worsening both insulin and leptin resistance. This creates a perfect feedback loop. The sugar hijacks your dopamine system, making you crave more. The craving leads to overconsumption, causing insulin and leptin resistance. This resistance makes your brain think it's starving, which drives you to eat more, reinforcing the dopamine hijack. It's a biological prison. Breaking out of it can feel like you're fighting your own body at every level. This is why simply trying harder is a strategy doomed to fail. You can't outwill a system this deeply compromised. You have to understand it to escape. So how do you escape a prison when the walls are your own biology? You don't break them down with force. You find the key. The key is understanding that you are managing a compromised system. The goal is to restore your brain's natural sensitivity. The most effective way is to reduce the signal causing the problem. By drastically cutting back on concentrated sugars, you give your brain a chance to heal. It's a process of neurorehabilitation. During this time, your brain begins the slow process of upregulating its D2 receptors. It starts plugging the microphones back in. At first, everything feels flat. This is withdrawal, but then gradually, something remarkable happens. A strawberry starts to taste incredibly sweet. A simple meal feels deeply satisfying. A walk outside provides a genuine sense of well-being. These are the signs that your reward system is rebooting. The volume on natural pleasures is being turned back up. You're not fighting cravings head-on anymore. You're changing the environment that creates them. You're removing the levers. Think back to those rats in the cage. They weren't weak or flawed. They were rational actors in an artificial environment designed to exploit their fundamental biology. One lever delivered a signal their brain interpreted as more essential for survival than anything else. The question is, what levers are in your environment? Your kitchen, your grocery store, your daily commute. The hijack is powerful, but it's fueled by exposure. You have more control over your exposure than you think. You built the cage. You can also walk out the door. And this same downgrade of the reward system explains why things that are effortful feel so impossibly hard in the modern world, which is a different kind of hijacking entirely.